The TROM Computers project is on the surface about computers, but really deep down, it's about building community in a way that departs quite a bit from the usual enterprise that's built around the profit motive. For instance, there's no way in the TROM Computers business model for any capital to build up, so nobody gets rich from the project, no matter how successful it becomes. But there's lots of potential for many people from all walks of life in the community to earn something ranging from a low level like pocket money to an amount that you can make a living from. The business model works in any case because the people working to operate and develop the project are doing it because they want to, not because they're paid to. But they get paid anyway, but sometimes they don't. It's quite unlikely that you'll truly understand that until after you've actually engaged as a volunteer in the project. There are four important topics to cover: how the project's organised, how the money flows, how the community benefits, and what the project actually does and how it operates. And then one of the next steps involves you joining us with as much involvement as you like, from full immersion in a paid project staff position to just playing a passive role as a community-minded person curious enough to stay in touch with the project and watch it develop. We're at a stage in the project's development now where we're about to build the register of commercial donors whose commitment to the project will enable the launch. In terms of people, there are two categories. One, core staff, who are paid, like in a real job. And two, volunteers, people who actually are also paid, but sporadically, according to the project dynamics. There'll be a bit more about that when we talk about the money flow. And in terms of geography, the project's organised as a network of drop-in centres, each of which is itself a cost centre. Each drop-in centre operates independently, but each of them helps with the development of shared information, operating procedures, lessons learned, and such that are available for everybody from the main TROM Computers website. Each computer we refurbish and deploy goes to a good home where it's kept by the user indefinitely and returned when it breaks or is no longer being used. We're hoping that as the project grows, there'll be hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of good homes for these computers. Other locations include schools, libraries, and care homes, but really, any public establishment that wants to take one or more of these computers can do so. It'll be interesting to see once the project gets underway, just where the computers find themselves. The project's funded entirely from donations, and we're appealing to commercial organisations that operate within the community region to divert to us on a regular basis some of the budget they allocate to community support and development. For the model, we are proposing that a monthly donation commitment of £300 from 32 companies generates a bit under 10,000, and we can do a lot with that. More generous amounts and a longer list of donors means that the project can grow. We're also looking for contributions from individuals, and these contributions are treated the same, but mostly intended to build up the revenue that makes up the share out amount. That's explained on the next slide. All transactions, incoming and outgoing, are kept in a register and are completely accessible in the public domain, so anyone who cares to look can see exactly where the money comes in and where it goes. Money goes out to pay for fixed expenses and whatever surplus on a weekly basis from cash donations, spread among the volunteers in proportion to the time recorded on the project's time logging system. A buffer is maintained that's enough to keep the project going for a 6-month period without donations, and in practice the share out amount is calculated with the maintaining of the buffer as a factor. For a good understanding of the share out amount, it helps to see illustrations with the figures and the money flow that's available from the website. But the principle is quite simple. Weekly income from donations first clears expenses, and then what's left over, an operational buffer that we have to maintain, is distributed among the volunteers in proportion to the hours that they spend on the project. So every week, the people on the project get to see a worked out hourly rate that sometimes will be zero, in which case people who have expended effort that week are truly volunteers. And for some weeks it will be high, up to a maximum rate that we'll probably set at somewhere between £20 and £40 per hour. The project exists for the community and will be operated by the community to ensure that access to computer equipment and education is not exclusive to those with money. Computers are made available to the public with first contact at a drop-in centre where they get a warm welcome and a chair in front of one of the computers that are set out internet cafe style and with a friendly person able to help them with small problems. The user can take a computer home if they like, and the one they take is then replaced by one from the stock of refurbished computers, so we maintain a few at the drop-in centre for general use. At the drop-in centre, there's a workshop where the computers are refurbished and tested, and where public can book time to work with the staff there to learn about upgrading and maintaining, wiping the hard disk, and installing software. We plan to reach everybody in the community, and as the numbers increase, we seek out those in the community who are isolated and offer them a chance to join the TROM Computers network, where they can sooner or later find themselves in a position to help others, as well as they themselves being helped, with small technical problems that happen along the way. The integration of people in the community can be achieved through the technical support network, which really amounts to the means for people to communicate. People out there in the community who lodge technical queries will get a call from a friendly tech who's really, in many cases, serving a dual purpose of helping with the query and keeping up contact with the individual. Though this project is the library of computers, what we are aspiring to is a library of things, where at the moment the computer is just one of those things. Now, to achieve that with a stock of lawnmowers, power tools, gardening equipment, musical instruments, etc., needs quite a lot of space, which some of the drop-in centres may well have. But in any case, what's available is published live on the website, and this project is a good step towards a full library of things. In our plan to reach everybody in the community, we have to be realistic, of course, and realise that not everyone is receptive to what the project has to offer. But it is safe to assume that many more people will benefit from the project than those who won't. Demographics like ethnicity, religion, gender, country of birth don't apply to the project because what we offer is truly inclusive of everyone. So the main demographic we use is age, and we do a simple calculation based on weighting among the age groups, expressing who we think are most likely to become involved. And this works out at about 70% of the population, but we think it's more than that, because as more and more people encounter the TROM Computers project concept, they'll be drawn in, even if only passively, to help keep the project going. TROM Computers is an excuse for communities to get together. On the surface, it's about refurbishing computers and making them available to people in the community, regardless of whether or not they have money. But it's much more than that. It's about providing a place for someone to go and learn as much or as little as they like about computers. Somewhere to satisfy curiosity about whether it is in fact possible for a little old me to do something as grand as installing an operating system. This is an environment where people can realize that you don't need overpriced Microsoft or Apple products in your computer. There's an abundance of free resources out there, and we use open source for everything. We intend that technical support should be abundant, and that's free as well, as we grow a data bank of common problems and worked solutions, and more volunteers join the forums. Apart from the refurbished computers, each drop-in centre becomes a place for promotion of education about single board computers. The Raspberry Pi is one of those, and we intend to flood the community with them, to school children by the hundred, via the schools that will help us with venues for coding clubs. Leveraging the schools network is going to be one of our main areas of activity when the project gets underway. We're positioning ourselves to be the main supplier of Raspberry Pi product range for schools throughout Essex. The Raspberry Pi single board computer is a third of the cost of a low-end laptop and is far more valuable for education and is easy to move between school and home. For transportation, we'll build a fleet of people who can move computers around the network and make home visits to those less mobile. These home visits, we think, will become lifelines for contact for some people who normally will never see anyone from one week to the next. For one thing, we show them how to be connected online to their local drop-in centre, and it builds from there. So, what do we do now? Donors. The entire operation is financed by donations, and we're about to approach local companies that we hope will make up the critical mass of 100 or so donors that we need to sustain the operation. Premises. We're continually open to leads on premises that we can adopt to build the network. We like it better when the space is available for free or on not much basis, but as each becomes available, we'll present it to our list of sponsors. Sponsorship. Every drop-in centre has its rental costs covered by a sponsor, who is likely to be a company, but could also be a high net worth individual. Once we have the premises secured and available, we go all out to make it work as a TROM Computers node in the network. And at the very least, it will be an internet cafe. Currently, we're hoping that Magnox will come on board as the first of our sponsors to help us secure a Burnham High Street location that would be ideal for us as a starting point. And a series of others will follow, we hope. Equipment. We really don't need much to get started, but to equip a workshop or run a vehicle, furnish a drop-in centre, will work a combination of using the regular donations and raise funds especially for particular objectives, like establishing a workshop after we get started. Liaison. Schools are the main liaison that we need to establish, and we're keen to make contact with schools so we can show them how they can utilise us to help with their delivery of IT education. But that's going to be much more effective once we have a working drop-in centre for demonstration and discussion. People. What we have now is just a few people who are enthusiastic about getting the project to a point where we can attract more people through exposure to the project so they can see how it works in practice. You can register your interest very simply by sending a message to addme@phcportal.com. Just tell us a bit about yourself and we'll add you to our list of interested parties and keep you up to date.